This is Marc Tobias with Todd Morris at BrickHouse Security in New York. BrickHouse is one of the leading companies in the world that supplies surveillance and GPS hardware and software to the corporate and government community and the Fortune 100 companies. Todd, I'd like to ask you first of all about the state of technology with GPS. Your company provides some very sophisticated hardware and software for tracking assets and people. Could you describe briefly your latest products and what your capabilities are?
So the state of the art in GPS trackers today is a micro tracker that is much smaller and has a longer battery life than ever before. Something rugged, waterproof like the Spark Nano 2.0 or other devices that can really be placed magnetically underneath a vehicle and left there for weeks at a time. These devices can track people covertly anywhere.
Actually, one of those we've used because it senses movement. With an accelerometer, you can leave it for months if the target doesn't move.
Yeah, the motion sensors on these can be extremely sensitive to the point that they can either alert you when someone starts moving, or they can pretty much put the device into a battery hibernation mode for up to a year, allowing you to track an asset that shouldn't be moving for a long time.
So the new Nano, your latest product that you're holding in your hand there, tell me what that'll do exactly and where.
So the Spark Nano 2 can be configured to track anywhere from every 5 seconds to every several days. And every time it moves, it'll start putting a dot on the map and continue to do so for as long as it's moving. The motion activation is extremely sensitive, and it will know as soon as the car starts moving or a person starts walking, start tracking it, keep track of its speed, the geolocation, and it can alert you when they enter or exit specific zones.
And there's no limit to where it'll work?
This device works on a GSM network, so anywhere you've got cellular coverage, the device will be able to track you and report back.
Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world.
As long as you put in an international SIM card, then you're good to go.
Yeah, this device works very similar to a cell phone. It has a cellular modem in it, so it's a quad-band modem. It'll travel anywhere in the world that has GSM coverage.
Okay, but what about underground garages? This is GPS.
Right.
This isn't assisted GPS.
So this device uses a GPS chipset. However, we have some technology we're working on that allows us to track any device with a SIM card in it and get a location based on nearest cell phone tower triangulation.
So I'm a member of the public, or I work for a corporation. How concerned do I have to be about being tracked by GPS and the capabilities?
So if you are an employee of a company, they have every right to and every capability now, and it's within their budget to track you whenever they want. Specifically, if you're carrying company property or driving a company vehicle, you should most likely assume that you can and should be tracked by them. If you're driving a company vehicle, carrying expensive assets, the company has most likely considered doing so, and many are doing it.
How accurate are the coordinates?
These GPS trackers go down to every 5 feet, so it's extremely accurate.
Anywhere on the planet?
Anywhere on the planet.
So let's ramp this up now. First of all, are you concerned, and we've had this discussion before, about the privacy implications for improper use of these devices, given that there's really no legislation right now to control their use?
So I think that privacy as we know it or knew it in the past is mostly historical. It really doesn't exist the same way anymore. So any employee should really not think that their communications on their computer or where they go, pretty much anything they're doing for business is private. By the same token, if you want to track your teenager or your spouse or some family member or a nanny, I think people have come to grips with the fact that nanny cams are everywhere, GPS trackers are easy to get to. Obviously, there will always be people who will try to misuse technology, but the proper use of it far outweighs that.
What does one of these sell for?
So Spark Nano 2 is about $200, and then it's about $30 a month to track it.
And plus data charges, or is that?
That includes the data charges and the web-based portal.
There are competitive products.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, I did an interview with the folks at Zoom, or Zoomback.
Zoomback, yes.
Which was a little larger, but the same theory, but not quite as sophisticated.
Right.
What's happened to all the competition?
So there are two theories here. Our theory is that these products are designed for people who actually have a need, and if they need it, then they are willing to pay for a product that will actually work correctly and be reliable and useful. And so we design a product that is police grade and usable and will work reliably in the field. There is another school of thought that if you make this inexpensive enough, everyone will want one, and it will be a consumer product like an iPod. I think Zoomback is an example of a company that thought that if they could get the monthly fee down low enough, everyone would want it, and that really didn't stimulate the demand that they thought. They had to shut down that business.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
They actually had to sell it, yes.
Yeah, even though Best Buy and other retail chains, pretty large ones, were carrying them.
They had to pay those chains to carry it because it really wasn't a big enough product for them.
Do you think the public ought to be concerned? Let's just take a hypothetical example that you got a guy that's a bag boy in a grocery store that's slightly psycho, who throws one of these in the grocery bag of a cute chick that's shopping at the store. Now he knows where she lives. Do you think the public ought to be concerned with that, and there ought to be protective legislation?
I think the same legislation that protects people today really does extend to technology as well. People were really concerned about e-commerce and credit cards at one point, but then they all realized they were giving their credit card to an $8 an hour worker at every restaurant they went to, and that person could just as easily have copied their information. When you go to a store, it's just as easy for someone to follow you in their car home as it would be to tag you with GPS.
But not as convenient.
But not as convenient. Technology makes things easier to do.
So the other side of this, the back end of this, is your company has some very sophisticated software that you can bring up on the net that in real time you can see where everybody is at.
Absolutely. And this has been the crux of the argument for GPS use with police, which was whether they needed a warrant or not. And the big discussion came down to, if the police want to track someone, they can track them with or without GPS. The question is, do they need 3 police officers in 3 different cars doing a rotated tail 24/7, which costs the taxpayers significantly more and is more complicated than placing a GPS tracker on the suspect? So the question is, does moving forward with technology and using advanced technology to save money and add efficiency change someone's constitutional rights?